Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Necessity versus Commodity. I'm here with a super good friend of mine, Jason Laird, and we're going to do something a little bit different. And we're probably going to be doing this stuff on a little bit more regular basis. We're kind of, instead of just doing the standard interview that I normally do with individuals, is actually kind of having these conversations, which are a little bit more, I guess, unplugged, a little bit more State of the Union address. We're kind of talk about where him and I are, and also where we help individuals like yourself get to certain places. It could be a local brick and mortar business. It might be an online business. It might be high ticket offer. It might be a low ticket offer. It might be something reoccurring. Jason has a background as an acupuncturist. Had a clinic that was making millions a year. I have a background in health and wellness. Had my own business. Making tons of money with that as well. We both moved online about 10 years ago, about the same time. Him and I met actually. We hired one of the top gurus at the time, went through their program. We actually were in a back end mastermind together. We've are in multiple different masterminds at this right now, currently still, because him and I both are individuals of when we have a problem in our business, we go hire someone to solve it, which has also helped us solve other people's problems a lot quicker, a lot faster. So Jason and I kind of want to just, going to have a conversation about where we are, what we help people with, what we see out in the space, the changing times. I know there's a lot of people out there right now that will tell you webinars don't work, all organic, but the last 5 years, organic doesn't work. You have to run paid ads, and getting your way through some of the BS out there, because I know people that are making $1 million a month running a VSL.
Right.
I know people that are running low ticket offers making $1 million a month. Jason does too. Now we also have a big change in the environment right now when it comes down to AI, and you have a lot of people that think they can just type in AI and create a VSL or their content that they're putting out and thinking that's going to work. And it might work and seem fun for about a week until you realize you're getting the same crickets and the same results of what you were before. And the biggest thing Jason and I want to kind of help people through is him and I both had this happen to us where we drank the Kool-Aid for a certain process for a while. And after 6 months, 12 months of saying, hey, it's going to work, it's going to work, and to have it never have it actually work. And we see people fall into those traps all the time. And it's one of the big things. Jason and I are very data driven, very results driven. And if you're not getting results, having to figure out, look, why it's not working. There's a lot of people out there tell you, hey, meditate more, and that's going to magically fix your ad campaign. Like, you meditating can actually change the Facebook algorithm, right? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. So Jason, let's kind of start the conversation off. Like, who are you actually helping and what are you doing right now? Just a real quick synopsis of.
Sure. So, like you mentioned, I was an acupuncturist for 20 years. And so when I went online to learn high ticket and sort of the funnel process, fast forward to now, so that's, like you said, almost 10 years ago, is I see people who have gone through like what the things that you and I've gone through, trying to build funnels and trying to do all this stuff. And my biggest problem when I was an acupuncturist is I was really good at what I did and I was good at my business, but I didn't understand anything about how to really market or really doing. Oh, somebody would come and say, hey, buy this $1,200 ad, and they're, like you said, crickets, nothing would happen. And I was like, this is really not good. And what I found is most business owners are like that. And for me, I didn't know how to write words that sold my thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so I relied on going on TV, and I was lucky about that. I got my own segment on the morning show, but most people don't have that. And so what I help now is, I thought, what did I need as a small business owner, especially now that I have two kids, and most people have families. And I thought, people need a system. They need an infrastructure, whether it's funnels or whatever, but some sort of a system that delivers things consistently. So if somebody comes in that doesn't know you and enters their email, and then they go through the process all the way to becoming a client, a patient, or whatever, all the way out the back end to their first referral. that system plus the words to sell it, plus the strategy of how all that works as an individual business, maybe making a couple $100,000 a year, to small and medium-sized business owners who are stressed out or really just want to go to that next level. I help those businesses really put those pieces in place. So it's because if you're gonna pay somebody hard-earned money, you want to have something that actually works and that actually gets the results that you want. And really, like my partner says, people want more leads, they want more money, and they want to just go rollerblading.
Yeah.
Right? They want to have that life of not always having to grind. So that's what we provide. And I call it a ghost in the machine.
Yeah, and looking at like what I do, you and I do a lot of things overlapping because it's kind of fun doing, being on the same journey together,
Yeah.
and we each have taken different paths, learned different things. And, I know that you work with a lot of people that are brick and mortar local businesses. I know you do help some people in the high ticket space, but that's a little bit different of a realm that you kind of don't always focus on. I kind of focus more towards the individual that has an online business, rather than a brick and mortar, even though I came from a brick and mortar like yourself, but you and I each on the foundation, right? Of what do we do for clients? And then really it's putting systems and automations into a business of what a 7 and 8 figure business has in place.
Correct.
Right. And that's the big thing, to your point, a lot of business owners, they don't have the next 10 years to learn marketing and sales like you and I went through.
Right.
They don't have the ability to spend an extra 10 hours a week going through a bunch of modules and trying to learn stuff,
Right.
implement stuff to where 3 to 6 months later that you finally have it together and it's failing.
And you're burned out.
And you're burned out. Like the biggest thing that majority of the clients that you and I work with, they're coming for something very specific, knowing that it's a plug and play into their business. It's going to start getting results. And a lot of them understand too, because they've been burned, that the whole marketing out there that we see in the space where, hey, $100,000 a month, on autopilot within the next 30 days or your money back guaranteed, right? Or we work for free, and like they've been burned by all of this stuff. And we'll get into why people normally get burned with that. But in reality, it's what works right for your business to give you financial freedom and time freedom to where you can, like you said, with the kids, same thing with me, with my fiance and her kids. If I want to go to the beach this afternoon because it's finally nice here in Minnesota and go spend some time with the girls at the beach, that I can do that. I'm not stressing out over things.
Right.
And that's really what a lot of people are looking for. One of the things when a client first starts with me, we have a pretty intimate conversation about their business. Like, what do you want your business to look like? Jason, you and I even had this conversation about a year ago where you were chasing $100,000 a month and blah, 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 blah. And we talked about a half hour, 45 minutes. And I broke down what that $100,000 business looks like for you, the people you need in place, the systems, the structures, who you're going to need to manage, how you're going to hire these people. Are they the right fit? And you're like, dude, that sounds super stressful. I don't want that.
Well,
Right.
and it's funny because I had one client that paid us 60 grand, and I'm like, this was a really great exercise in fine tuning what I want, what I don't want.
Yeah.
Because, we don't want 100 clients that are just because of the money. We want one client that we can crush it out of the, ballpark with. But when you mentioned AI, just to back up a little bit, you said something that triggered a memory. So I got into this entire space because I was an acupuncturist at the time, and I just wanted to figure out how to sell a product that I invented for pain for my mom out of Chinese herbs. And we'd made some for the royal family of the UAE. We'd sold a bunch of it around the country, but I never really had a system. And so I paid this guy that had a really great sales pitch. I paid him $8,000 to write a sales letter because I didn't know how to write. I didn't know what to say. And it took him 9 months, and what I got back was absolute garbage. It was so bad. And I'm like, that was at that time, 8 grand. I was like, man, that was something to launch that business. I didn't have any more money to try to launch it. I paid it all to that guy. because he'd claimed he was so great. And it was such a flop that I think internally it just flipped a switch like, screw that.
Yeah.
I'm not getting burned like that ever again. And so it took me on that journey of starting with, I mean, my wife can fall out of bed and write copy, but with the advent of AI, I saw the writing on the wall a year and a half ago, and I got invited to be one of 100 people to go through a mastermind with a very top level, A-level copywriter. And it's been invaluable because of the systems that we have in place. And you can't just get really great stuff out of just chat GPT, which a lot of people think it's
Agreed.
especially now people have seen it. I hope this message finds you well. It doesn't work like that. And so having
Okay, let's delve into
frame-
this a little more. Yeah.
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 So that having those A-list frameworks and the things like you're doing with structure and and the masterminds that we're in to really be able to craft something that, like you said, people won't have 10 years to go through. You and I, because of God sending us down that path, focused on different things that we did for ourselves, like you said, but ultimately, like, this is what people need. And so I've become become very proficient at AI. And what I really have done is I know there's a lot of areas that I either don't like but are necessary. It's just above my pay grade. I don't understand analytics, but I know people who are math brained who I've found those best people. So I've assembled a team of the very best in all different aspects. And then we can strategize and put something together. Like you said, you have an intimate conversation at the beginning. So do we. We have an onboard. And in fact, we call it a kickoff and blessing call because we say a prayer and we really invite the Holy Spirit in to actually help us. And so, I really enjoy these, our friendship too, because there's a lot of, we can bounce things off of each other.
Yep. Yeah. And you bring up like hiring a copywriter, right? You spent $8,000. 9 months later, you get a crappy sales letter.
Ugh.
And you can kick out someone can kick out their own sales letter in like 30 minutes now with AI, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, it's not going to be effective, just like that wasn't either.
Mm-hmm.
The one of the masterminds I'm in right now, I've got 2 coaches. Both of those coaches are copywriters that have written over $1 billion worth of sales with their copywriting.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And using AI as a tool, it's no different than a painter or a carpenter, right?
Right.
Yeah, you and I could probably grab a hammer and some nails, but we're not going to be able to use those tools the way a master carpenter is.
Yeah. I would never build a house with my skill set.
Correct. Exactly. I won't even build a doghouse.
Yeah.
A
Right.
birdhouse is probably not even going to be functional.
Right.
Um,
The Home Depot kids kit over there. Yeah.
exactly. And same thing with like paintbrushes, right? Like it's understanding the skill set you have to use that tool is really, really, really important. And to understand the aspects you and I have learned over the years when it comes down to marketing strategies, to the copywriting, which is huge. And everything that AI puts out, I mean, you need to be able to read that and understand the frameworks, the strategies in that, how it's laid out in a page, how it reads, all of those details. Like you said, if you kick something into AI and it's the verbiage, like again, there's words in there, you can read some ones and you see these words just pop out like delve and
Right.
let's unshackle and all these words that you normally don't use in their fluff. But the key thing is understand like the psychology, the human psychology of it.
Yeah.
Of how to actually frame it, to put it together, what to say, why you're saying it. That's a skill. And so AI can help, which is really nice because instead of putting together something now that would have taken 60 days, you can get it done in maybe 6 hours.
Exactly.
Right. And so the other thing about that is you can test things a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm. So
that's a huge thing. And if we use like running ads, for example, everyone understands running ads. You get a bunch of ad sets out there. You're getting a bunch of 2 to 4 different pieces of copy, a bunch of different creatives. You're testing to see what goes out. Right. Now, the problem is majority of people never test their landing page. They never, and some do, but they rarely test the VSL or the webinar or, the process that's taking people through. And it's one of the things, I stepped away from having my own business for a little over 4 years and just did remote sales. So I sold on a bunch of different offers,
Yeah.
and going through a bunch of those different offers, my marketing side, my business owner side, my strategic side, my
Yeah.
visionary side, the skill sets that I have, I was always on these sales calls and going with some of these offers like, dude, you're bringing in the wrong people.
Yeah. Right.
And it's one of the things with some of my clients that I teach sales to. I'm not a sales coach as out there, like I'm promoting to be a sales coach, but a lot of business owners as well, they're not a marketer, not a sales professional.
Right.
And so we need to work and implement both pieces.
Yeah.
But the big thing that I always talk with my clients about is the very beginning of a call. A lot of people are taught, hey, build rapport. Hey, Jason, how's the weather out there? Hey,
Right.
yeah, blah, talk about your sports team and,
Right.
minutes of this, and then go into, okay, Jason, well, we only got 45 minutes here. So what we're going to do here, like that initial flip, like people are like, oh, shit, right?
Yeah.
Like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
When I start a conversation off, I always, implement into my clients the 3 Ps: perspective, perception, and purpose. What's their perspective of your solution?
Yep.
So
Do they
what do
even
they
know about
know
it?
actually, right? What do they actually know? Because
Yeah.
if you're watching like a 5-minute VSL, they don't really know anything about you. They got a bunch of, so we have to figure that out right off the bat. But it's also why I build a bunch of pre-sale materials and
Right.
things for my clients to really get someone coming in with the right perspective. Because and if we don't know someone's world perspective, good luck trying to solve their problem on a
Right.
call.
Right.
Right. And it just ends in disaster. The other thing is their perception. And that perception is what's their perception of you?
Yep.
And then the purpose, what the purpose on the calls, because if we do that, we can also do what I call PDQs, pretty direct questions. If you can have some pretty direct questions with somebody, you get answers pretty darn quick.
Right.
Right. And have a real conversation. It's not a drag out for 45 minutes, but you
Correct.
can't always have that sales call without the marketing piece in
100%.
and a bunch of different, whether you're talking a brick and mortar business or an online business, setting up an ideal buyer process is really key to be able to make sales very, very quickly.
Correct.
Right. Lamborghini talks about, hey, I remember like the CMO of Lamborghini, he was asked one time in a magazine, how come you guys don't advertise on TV? And he goes, well, because our ideal buyers don't watch TV. Right. And it's kind of the same thing with every business owner out there. Just because everyone's online doesn't mean you should use the same strategy as Joe Schmo or Jane Doe. You need something specific. You also need something to kind of stand out to really make those sales very easy and to bring in the right people or disqualify and have those conversations if people disqualify themselves. So when I did sales, that was something I noticed immediately. And you and I, again, we've hired a lot of people out there that had certain, what I call tactics, right? So you got click funnels or go high level. That's a system, right? That's a tool that you can use. Now, a tactic would be, hey, I use that to plug in a VSL to have people watch it and book a call with me. That's a tactic, right? What you and I help people with actually is a strategy.
Correct.
The tactic doesn't work. The tactics all work, right? VSLs work. Otherwise, you wouldn't have people like Cole Gordon go from $0 to $35 million with a 5-minute VSL and putting us in your business. That works. Is that going to work for everybody? No, not necessarily, right? Or a webinar or a low ticket offer. These are all tactics. The strategy is doing that correctly within your business, which comes down to what your buyers are looking for, what they need, and take them on a journey through that process. So it makes sales very, very easy. And some of that comes down to the copy, the frameworks, the pieces of that, right? And so where people fail, and you and I have failed in the past, is hiring someone who gave us a tactic with a cut and paste. Here you go. This is going to work. And now it bombs every single time.
Yeah.
So looking at those pieces, when you're putting together a strategy for a client, like what are you doing for them that they know that you're going to be able to help them be successful?
Yeah, great question. So as you were talking, I was thinking about, you and I have had such a similar path, high ticket sales and working for other very high ticket offers. and seeing that exact process of how, when it was done correctly, the call was a conversation or a couple of conversations. And that's how we do it. So on our first call, first of all, to answer the questions that you asked, is like, is this a person we can help, first of all?
Yeah.
Is this a person that has a need that we can fulfill rather than just, hey, good, we got another sale? Because ultimately that doesn't work. But having somebody have our ideal clients really are people that don't have a process at all, but they know they need one. They're about our age. Whatever their particular path, like you mentioned, chiropractors. I understand it because it's about chair time. I could only see 20 patients every day. If I went hard 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, 3 patients at a time in 3 different rooms, I only could max out at 23. And that's what chiropractors, it's by chair time. So what can you implement in another chair with another thing? Like we had a bunch of different processes people could do that wasn't just coming to me for a treatment.
Yeah, agreed.
Which is why we were able to make more money. But what we do is we figure out with the person, like, what is it that they need? First of all, is this a business that we can help? Yeah, obviously. But when we really figure out a system that, and ultimately, man, the last thing I'll say on this before I go into that answer is people just want real. I mean, we have AI and all that. It's cool. It's just like you said, it's a tool. It helps. But really, at the end of the day, we just want to know that the person that we're talking to is legit. We're going to get the thing that we need that will help our business. And every business is different. I mean, a chiropractic office, like I look at it like they need, a lot of chiropractors need new patients coming in to be able to have a system that they can sell something that their secretary or their office person can do while they're cracking back or doing an x-ray or whatever. And so every business is different than that. So that, really we look at what it is a person in their business needs and how that is best implemented, whether it's copy. Because for us, the way that I look at it is I needed a system that was just, it was a packaged thing that I could then manipulate as I went on, or I could change as I went on. Because a lot of times where you start out isn't where you end up. And even with a boat, you can't steer a boat that's not on. It just floats in the water. Once you start that motion, even a little bit of forward motion, you can turn it, right? And so to be able to start with something that's top level and then iterate it if we need to in different areas and add different pieces of AI, or even like the new voice, the conversational voice AI, it can literally answer questions about anybody's business when you program it that way to get rid of the mundane. I mean, one of the most, interesting facts that I heard in the last couple of months was AI is going to replace 85 million jobs, but it's going to create 97 million more. So the thing about it is where does the modern technology fit in? Because a chiropractor is not, there's no AI going to crack a back. I'm not going to let a robot crack my back. So there's still those human elements, and you might not want to get rid of your secretary or your office manager, but to make their jobs more efficient. So we really look at the whole comprehensive piece, and then because not everybody has a high ticket offer either.
Yep.
And it's a challenge to build a high ticket offer.
It is. And I want to talk about that. Actually, that's a really good point. It's really crazy out there because I see, again, with my fitness background, right? If we use that as an example, like how many fitness individuals are out there and they're trying to craft a high ticket offer that's like $5,000 to $10,000.
Mm-hmm. A lot.
And you and I see that. We see a ton of people struggling trying to make it work, right? And you constantly get well, you're a charlatan. I'm not paying you $8,000 for this. Why would they feel that way?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of them, but I'm thinking about a couple people in that you and I both know. They don't have a high ticket offer, but they've been sold the bill of goods that you should charge a lot of money for this thing that you do, and then they wonder why people aren't paying them that money, to lose weight or to whatever. because there's a certain section of offers that they're really capped by that unless you have a name. But like you mentioned in the beginning, you're attracting the wrong people, and then you have the wrong messaging.
Yeah.
I'm like, there are people who pay a lot of money for golf instruction, but you better have the right messaging up front to talk to the people, because there are golfers out there. I talked to a guy, he spends 150 grand a year on his membership, but he shoots a 90. Well, he thinks lessons and he thinks this, but that's the mentality of that market. Are you the kind of guy that is sick and tired of shooting 90 golf for 20 years, but you spent 100 grand getting there and still suck? But then they don't know what they don't know, and so it's in every offer. People create these high ticket offers without like you and I know from experience and being on the sales team of a multi-million-dollar a month business. You know you know the pieces, the pre-sale, the emails, and all of the different things, and the VSLs, and all of the persuasion that comes because really ultimately, man, is people don't want their time to be wasted.
Correct.
If I want a solution to X, I want to go through and understand it, not have a 45-minute beat down my neck conversation of how bad I am, because I don't have certain things in place. No, I want to know that you can help me and how you're going to do it and how quickly it's going to happen.
Yeah. And it's one of the biggest shifts over the last 5 years. If we go back 10 years ago when you and I first entered the space, that was kind of the golden age, right? Like you could put out anything and people would click on it and they would end up buying, right?
Yeah.
And $3,000 to $10,000. People have been burned a ton now. They've also seen ads. I mean, you click on, if you're looking to solve some sort of problem, it could be anything, right? Like it could be weight loss. Like you said, it could be golf. It could be lead generation. You click on anything, the next time you go on social media, you've got 10 options of people just marketing your face or paid ads.
Yep.
And a lot of people, they don't know what's the best option. Sometimes there's too many options, so they never take action, which really sucks.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing. You and I both, we don't want to be some major guru where we're running ads and bringing in 100 people a month to watch 98 of them fail because I gave them a bunch of video course modules to watch and just pray and spray that they hope just to bring in a bunch of freaking money. It's one of the things too I talk with my clients about, like what's your ideal thing and what's your ideal business look like? Because lots of times we put in systems for like lifetime value of a client. Now, instead of having a client for 8 weeks, you have a client for 12 months.
Yeah.
The majority of my clients stay with me for 6 to 12 months, if not longer. And the reason why is because we are refining stuff on a monthly basis. We are implementing new levers that are going to bring in new people. Also testing things. Sometimes it takes 30 days to 90 days to test something. We can get a good response, but not a great response. So let's just tweak this. And then all of a sudden now we're getting a great response. And that's how 7-8 figure businesses are actually built. Right. And not that you need to have a 7-8 figure business as your goal, but why are these 7-8 figure businesses so successful?
Right.
Because they have multiple actual levers that are very strategically placed. It's not a single tactic they're using. And you and I both see in the marketplace right now, a lot of people that were just selling a tactic, they're scrambling.
Yeah.
And these are some top names in the space. And now they're throwing anything and everything at the wall. And
they got mansions to pay for.
Yeah. And the other thing is they're losing credibility in the space. They're actually losing credibility within their current clients and their past clients.
Correct.
And so they're trying to save face and save their business. But on top of it, the only option they have, and it's kind of a rock and a hard place, is continue what they're doing and be done in the next 12 to 18 months, or start throwing anything at the wall and hoping enough people look at them going, hey, at least they're trying, and stick with them in that long haul. That's a bad place to be in. And I'm never going to be someone who sells a tactic. I am going to always look at your business strategically, because again, things I can put in and install into a business, it could be maximizing a Facebook group. It could be putting a setter and closer in your business, if that's going to be because you've got other pieces in place. But if you don't have other pieces in place, that setter and closer is not going to do a darn thing for you.
Right.
They're not marketing, they're not lead generation.
Yeah.
And you don't have it. Hey, do we have a low ticket funnel? Do we have a high ticket? What lead magnets do we have?
Right.
Do we have a funnel that's built for self liquidation to where that if you're spending $1, you know you're going to make $1 back with the goal of trying to get $10 back, right? And have some days it just pays for itself and you got free leads and people into your pipeline, or maybe you made $100 to $1,000 that day and also got people in your pipeline, right? Rather than just burning $100 a day and hopefully getting 3 calls booked that week for $700 and hopefully close you 1 in 3,
right?
And have that client acquisition cost be $700 to $1,200 and eat away all your revenue and profit. It doesn't make any sense. And every business is a little bit different in kind of that scenario. And that's really key for a lot of pieces. And the same thing, like working, where I was kind of going with that was talking about a client of, instead of chasing for somebody new for just 8 weeks with the ideal business that you want, if we actually build out a couple lower ticket offers that bring people in, that raise your revenue right where you want it, and then those people then upgrade to the full ticket, and then also we have a back end fulfillment, all of a sudden we can double your revenue with a quarter of the clients coming in. Correct. And get better results in all those pieces. And a lot of people miss that. Again, that's very strategic to do that. That's not a random tactic. Right. And that takes some time to build out and test as well of what happens. Again, you brought something up and said, a lot of people have been just sold on high ticket, right? And a lot of that stuff is great. And you should want to sell a higher ticket option, but you are going to struggle mightily if that's all you have. And if we go back to, talking about a fitness professional, or you brought up golf. The other thing is that goes back to my perspective, perception, and purpose. Because if someone has a certain perspective of fitness or golf, they value your service as what they've currently paid in the past. Yeah. Oh, group coaching sessions for $250 a month, unlimited, boom, boom, at a place that's a mile away from me. Yeah. And then you're like, hey, 8 weeks for $8,000. Well, if you didn't shift their perspective, correct. Same thing with golf. Hey, yeah, I can go to the driving range. I can pay the club guy $100 for an hour. He's going to work on my swing. And to your point, dude, you've been hitting 90 to 100 for 20 years. It's never changed. You've been working with the guy every single week. Right. His perspective is that's the solution to his problem, when in reality it's not. Right. So you have to shift perspective. And some of it, I think you brought up a really unique point. A lot of people don't understand is bringing up being you, being transparent, be authentic, be straightforward when it needs to be. Yep. Right. And sometimes you do have to throat punch somebody through copy and say, hey, you are complete. If you think this works for you, of taking your lesson once a week for $100 with the Club Pro at your $150 a year membership club, if you think that's still your best way to go after 10 years, keep doing what you're doing, man. Yeah. That's totally fine. We are not for you. Right. But if you finally have realized that has gotten you nowhere, it's getting you nowhere, and it'll continue getting nowhere, and you're looking for a different way to achieve it, yeah, we might be that different scenario. Right. And so if that's the case, here's where we're going to go, and I'm going to take you, because I'm going to show you how it is possible to actually start shooting the 70s this summer. Now, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to put in some work. Let's be honest. But the truth is, I can show you how to spend 15 minutes a day in your living room and get you to start hitting the 80s by the end of the summer, playing in the 70s. Yeah.
Well, it's the hardest sport in the world. And people think that they can, at 50 years old, after being inathletic, or even if they are athletic, to try to put all the pieces together. I mean, Tiger Woods had 5 coaches when he came back. Yeah. One person just looking at his head, one his hands, one his feet, one the ball, because that's what it takes. I mean, I did a video in that group the other day, by the way, just you and I, because most golfers are full of it. I used a little more colorful language, but I'm like, you're lying to yourself. I've seen it. So anyway, but to your point, I'm like, where I really, I mean, maybe it's just coming from Wyoming, but I just talk straight, and if a person can understand, okay, this is what I need, this is what it's going to take. Can you help me get there? And there's no BS involved. I love what you said because, you know, you and I both do very similar things with nuanced differences. And once you have a system, and I've tried them all, trust me. I've tried every name brand funnel building thing out there, and the one that I currently use, Springboard, is by far the Cadillac, Lamborghini, Rolls-Royce of them all. But if it just sits there in the box with no understanding, it doesn't mean anything. If you don't have but it's the skeleton for everything. And then the copy that talks to the market, to talks to the person, and then all of the nuances, all of the things. But the strategy really, I always told my wife that, I always felt like I was throughout life, I collected puzzle pieces somehow. And then all of a sudden, God would show me oh, that piece goes here and this goes here. That's really what it is, because at the end of the day, people really, we're overworked, we're underpaid, or whatever the thing is for the person. They have that need that needs solved, that problem. And if you can actually solve it for somebody, and you do it in a way that is masterful, that's what people really like, because that's why, and we don't work with startups. It's too hard. They have an unproven offer. We don't know. We could give you the entire system, and it may or may not work because they may not have enough money to send an ad to it.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't, right? You just have to have all the pieces of, like, here's the system, here's the thing, and then we modify it, but it has to be for somebody who really sees the value and understands it. And that's the job of a marketer too.
Yeah. And you just bring up a really good point there too. Newer offers, right? You said you don't take them on because of this. Now, somebody that's thinking about launching an offer, I tend to agree with you. A lot of newer offers I won't touch. Now, the reason why is not always because they don't have a proven offer or this or that. A lot of people don't understand what it takes on the back end.
True.
Right. 100%. And now, as an example of, if you've never had an offer, you're just moving into the online space, you're just trying to figure this out, you've never done any organic posting, you don't understand funnels, you don't understand all these pieces. You're like, hey, this is magically going to happen because I saw some markets. Hey, do you have a skill set, and do you want to make it and turn it to $100,000 a month? That sounds great up front. But to your point of, do you have the resiliency, the grit, the determination of playing the long game here? And are you in a financial situation for the long game here? Mm-hmm. Right. One thing you and I both have seen in the space, where people are sold this whole bunch of goods up front, and within 90 days, they've invested $10,000 to $30,000 on credit cards just to try to get this thing launched. Never were told you're going to need somewhere between $1,000 to $5,000 a month in ad spend over the next 6 months, just to hopefully make this thing work. And worst case scenario, now you're $50,000 to $60,000 in the hole. You haven't sold a thing yet.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, which is the 1%, in the first month, you made your initial investment back, and you're making money to at least pay for the continued ads. You can continue to grow through that process.
Yeah.
Right. The majority of people aren't there. Right. Yeah. Like one of my clients, he came on, and again, what was somebody new, but I know that it was a discussion we had. What's the runway? Mm-hmm. Like, do you have the ability to do this long game? Because I'm not going to sugarcoat this and say, hey, within the next 10 days, you're going to start making sales. You potentially could, but if we don't have this runway, and so that's what we're working on. And I know he's got that runway. Another client, we talked, and right now, for them to get started, he doesn't have a runway for any of that. He wants to run ads, but doesn't have the ability to do it at the moment. So we've got kind of go an organic route to start doing that.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah, and so a lot of people, they jump into a tactic not understanding actually the back end of what it's going to take to actually make it work.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're sold, hey, just run ads and it magically this happens. Hey, run ads, put a setter in your business, it magically happens. Hey,
Well,
you've been
yeah,
in business for a while, just put a setter in, it's magically going to happen. That's not the case. There's a lot of pieces in the back end that
totally.
you're never told about. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that any clients that work with you are or myself are going to be extremely beneficial on is guiding them through those back end pieces as well, because
We've
we've
done it
been
all.
through it.
Well,
Right.
and it's interesting, you know, you just helped me to tie something together. When I was an acupuncturist and I made a lot of money. I mean, I was probably in the top 10% of acupuncturists in the entire country, only because I had a business mind. Most of my colleagues, they didn't have a business mind and they were very genuine hearted, and but they gave their services away. And I was thinking, you know, if I had the systems and the understanding and the copywriting and all the things that I know now, back when I was seeing 20 patients a day, I would have made $10 million instead of three, because I would have had a system. So then that was and which fuels my thing that I do today. But then when I there was two scenarios. There was a guy that you and I know. He wasn't really getting anywhere with his copy. And I said, man, you're like trying to cast a net out over the ocean of all of these people in your market. And you're speaking to nobody. You're just speaking to all people who are overweight. And I said, you're a Christian guy. I said, why don't you have any of that in your marketing? Or what, I said, listen, and he had this really cool story or something that came to him while he was, uh, whatever it was, where it was his moment of change. And he lost like 280 pounds or whatever. And it was his letter to God. And I said, let's refine that and let's use that as your ad. Well, guess what? He sent that ad out, and it's to this day his number one converting ad because it was from the heart. So then I got enough to answer your other point of the runway. Our one of our clients, who was a big deal, Inc. 5000 company, like they had a business already that was solidified. We were just going to make it bigger. Well, then the next day, once we sort of agreed, he said, hey, you know, I'd rather do this new startup thing. Well, we'd already made the agreement, right? I'm like, okay, well, he's successful in this business, lots and lots of revenue. I'll go ahead and take it on. Well, guess what? It took 6 months. He started that business with a URL that he bought the day that we had the conversation. I'm like, all right, big challenge, right? So, and then they already had their systems. They didn't want to change systems. I don't blame them. It's a new learning curve. So we sort of had handcuffs on already. But what we ended up doing over the 6 months is, you know, a couple grand a month in ad spend, buying the data. Is this something that's viable? And then we have one of the top guys in the world to be able to mathematically understand campaigns and things like that. But 2 grand, 2 grand, 2 grand. The guy had spent 2 grand for years. He didn't have an ROI. He had no idea. I don't know what I'm making. I'm just spending money to Google. We put systems in place where finally it was like I think in our VSL for clinical positioning, he says it's like the microwave dinged. Okay, tell the client to double his ad spend, because the metrics were in place. The understanding mathematically of the win is right there. Double the ad spend. Okay, 5 grand, 6 grand, whatever. And then he said, if he doubles it, I'll get him 18 grand in ROAS. Blah, blah, blah. All those things happened in the next 2 or 3 months. He said, all right, I'm ready. Tell him to triple his budget. If he spends 20, I'll get him 40 or whatever. And that was what happened. And for every month, it was this. In fact, here's the crowning jewel I was just told a couple of days ago. He had sold so much because of that campaign. He said, I can't go forward with you guys this month because they shut down my ad, or they shut down my merchant accounts because we sold so much they thought I was committing fraud.
Yeah.
So he can't sell anymore physically online because our campaigns helped him to absolutely dominate his market. That's what we do. And that's what you do. So, you know, it's one of those things where why would I risk? And that would just happen to be it wasn't a risky business because he'd proven himself in another area, but we didn't know what the campaign was going to be. We didn't know what the copy was going to be. We had to test it out. Luckily, he had the runway and the ad spend to be able to do it. Well, it worked out for him.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're maybe a chiropractor, acupuncture, or ice cream seller, or a plumber, that's why when I was in practice, if I could have just bolted something on to what was already working to unburden myself from the minutia of what ads or I wasn't my expertise. I just wanted, and back then, all that time ago, I mean, I collected emails by my office manager by writing them down on paper, and then I put them in MailChimp or whatever by hand. It's like archaic now.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's still brick and mortar businesses that are still doing a similar thing. My neighbor is 70 some years old, still runs his security business. They don't have anything automated. He's in retirement, but that's the sweet spot for us is a company that either doesn't have anything at all, or it's sort of slapped together as best as they could by buying a couple things online. No, we just need to package it up, make sure that it works. And then to your point earlier, then you just test it. If that landing page didn't, like we have the ability right now to send out like 50 or 60,000 emails a month, cold outreach from one of our systems. So we can test an offer. In fact, my partner texted me today, said one of the offers was great. The other one, nobody opened it. Okay, great. Well, guess what? I still have the option to email those 60,000 plus 20,000 more every month to send out what offer might work for something. And that's the service that we offer for our clients here in Volusia County, where we send out an offer to see it to our network to see if it works. So there's a whole lot of things that people can do that maybe they don't, they, like you said in the beginning, they don't have the 10 years to figure out how to do it all.
Yeah. Or, if we look at some of the tech too, that's available and that we help clients install, of a lot of people don't even know what softwares are out there. Right. So spending time to research. And again, you have minimum five different options. Right. And people get lost. Why do you think people just automatically go to QuickBooks?
Yeah.
Because that's all they know. Right. Yeah. Even though QuickBooks might not be what they need. Yeah. It might be an important part of their business and a foundation for taxes. But just think of how QuickBooks changed the game.
Yeah.
A lot of people that did taxes the old archaic way, to use your term, went out of business because QuickBooks sped up the process, right? But the tax advisors that were using QuickBooks were able to accelerate their business model and help out more clients because of ease. Now, there's a lot of different things you can plug into any business right now to help with the systems, to help with the structure and the foundation of your business that can either be gathering leads, following up with leads, nurturing your leads, staying in contact with your clients, all of those pieces that make your business really successful. Like it's really crazy that some of the people that we've hired in the past would say, hey, don't send out emails. It doesn't work.
Dude, I remember, I remember that. Because they couldn't get everybody, they couldn't train everybody to do it because some people are lazy, some people are scared of the camera, some people don't know how to write, and so I'll just stop there.
Yeah, but actually, you just bring up a really good point that and I know we're about ready to finish up time here, and let's do a teaser on this one. The next episode, let's talk about that, because I think that's a huge problem with the online space as well. People buy something because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be able to do this, and all of a sudden I'm gonna be extremely successful. But then to actually implement it, it's something that they don't want to do or can't do effectively. And the person they hired to help them learn how to do this isn't teaching that part or helping them to grow that part. Right?
Yeah, it's like a little cog that you buy, but you don't see the entire machine. And then you're like, oh man, I just spent $2,000 on this cog, but I can't actually. That's what happened to me. In fact, in our last remaining minutes, my wife calls me the sass breaker, because I literally was application 0001 for ClickFunnels in Funnel Hacking Live. and I ended up not doing it, and for other reasons. But what I realized is that software at that time didn't do what I thought it did. And so I'm like, it doesn't work because this functionality in the background wasn't what I needed, but I had nobody to help me with it. And I told my wife, I said, that's why there's some people that they don't have a lot of money, but they have a lot of grit and energy. We have a solution for that. Then we have a done with you where it's people like you and me that want to understand it, but need that guidance. And then you and I both know there are people who are like, I know what I need. I got the money. I just want you to do it. So that's where the beautiful thing of what you and I do is is at least what I look at it is you have a solution for every step of the journey.
Yeah.
And then you have the output that actually makes a difference for somebody.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. And yeah, let's, on the next time we get together, which we'll do in the next week or so, let's talk about, when we bring in a client and we talk about certain things, right? Because again, I'm not here to force a client into a tactic.
Exactly.
I am here to game plan with you about your business, talk to you about your business, learn about your business, and then we look at multiple possible solutions to that because, hey, each one of these solutions is a major lever that we can put into your business, or if you have it in place already, what do we need to fix it to improve it? Because if you got one lever in your business that is bringing in, let's just say $50,000 a month right now, is there a way that we can improve that process in the next 30 days to take you from 50 to 100K? Right? And maybe that's all you want with your business. Maybe there's other things. Can we implement another lever that maybe then takes you from 100K to $250,000? Is there another level we can put in that takes you now from $250,000 to $1 million, and it's not causing really any more work? There's systems, there's automations. Maybe you might need to hire a VA or some people maybe for certain parts and roles part-time, but you've got these foundational levers and systems and structures in place that allow you to continue to grow. And again, I'm also a big data person like you are, and I'm just like in fitness I never like to throw 10 things at somebody. Hey, we're going to change this and we do this.
It'll never
You're
work.
Doing this, right? It's overwhelming, number one. Number two, if we start getting a result, what actually caused the result?
Yeah, exactly.
We have no idea.
Right.
Or if we got a result because of a couple of things, well, we might start focusing on one of the other things that was incorrect and go nowhere. So we don't have specifics to actually target on. And that's what's, talking about playing the long game. And I think we see a lot of people in the online space too, the shiny object syndrome. They try something for a week. I see this, talk about fitness again too. People would jump from, hey, I'm going to do this diet. They do it for 10 days. Then they see something about a new diet. So they try that one for 10 days. Then they try this one for 10 days. And during each one of those, they go right back to their old habits. And by the time 90 days is gone, they've tried 4 diets, haven't really changed their lifestyle, haven't changed their mindset, haven't installed anything to actually help them continue moving forward in a lifestyle of health, and end up in a worse position mentally, physically, emotionally. And that's what happens in businesses all the time. So,
well, and I see that as a problem in 2 areas. First of all, the person that goes and does all those different tactics may or may not actually want the result deep down. And that's why I always say, we only want clients that have already made the decision that they need to change something or get something new or whatever it might be. They already made the decision well before they even met me or us or whoever. Even they made that own personal decision that they have to do something. Now they just need to find the solution rather than trying to convince somebody that they may need to make a change. That's not the business that I'm in, because there's it's like I come from Wyoming fly fishing. There's a lot of trout in the river, but if you throw in a marshmallow, you might get a bite. But if you actually tie the fly of the actual bug that they're eating at that particular time of day, your success chances go way up. and you're not going to catch a salmon on the same little nymph you catch a trout on.
Yep.
So that's what most businesses don't understand. And then they buy that tactic and then they don't have it in part of the whole system. And that's a major problem. And then they get burnt out.
Yeah. And to tie back to what you just said and what we kind of talked about earlier, to also tease to the next episode, you know, again, talking, you said, hey, the person that comes in, they know, right? Like they're ready to go. And that's where everyone wants an ideal buyer.
Yeah.
But let's understand a person's buyer's journey. And that's why I talk about the perspective, the perception, and the purpose,
Yep.
right? Like, did we shift their perspective to know that what they have been doing is the reason why they're failing? Did they take ownership in, hey, I need to do something different? Now is their perception about what our solutions are for them is finally that answer. And then the purpose of the call is actually, yeah, Jason, when can we get started? Right. And that is setting up an ideal buyer's journey with marketing and then be able to have them follow through and go through that journey where when you do speak with them, that's the conversation you're having, because you can actually do that through Zoom. You could do that face to face. You can do that lots of times in DMs. I know people, I have clients that do $10,000, $30,000, $50,000 in sales through a DM with never even talking to somebody.
Right.
Now, everybody can't do that. Again, trying to throw that strategy into your process. If you're not good at sales to begin with, if you don't have a proven workflow, closing DMs is not going to be an easy job for you. You're going to burn a lot of potential leads. But just an example. And so I would love to dive into all of those pieces.
Great.
Talk again next week or in 2 weeks and get another one out. So
that's great.
I know we both need to jump. And Jason, it was great chatting with you today. And
great talking to you, buddy.
To continue doing this. And we'll touch base, I'm sure, later today or tomorrow. And again, God bless. Have a great, amazing day. And we'll talk soon.
You too, Scott. God bless. Have a great day.